Thank you for tuning in to LeadDeveloper.com, where we simplify complex property development feasibilities, investment analysis, and everything real estate. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, our Google Sheets-based feasibility suite streamlines the toughest aspects of real estate. Lead Developer Feasibility Suite is trusted by thousands in over 17 countries. Our tools cover everything from quick assessments to detailed cash flow projections and more. Sign up today at LeadDeveloper.com for unlimited free access to our expanding library of real estate tools. No credit card needed. Plus, get full support through Edge with step-by-step guidance, exclusive courses, and resources designed for your success. Turn numbers into narratives that win over investors and lenders. Join Lead Developer now.
All right, let's dive in. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling property development. Specifically, we've got this website. It's all about strategies for property development, Aussie style. And we really want to help you guys out there figure out, is this something you should even, be considering? Is it a path you want to walk down?
Yeah, we're taking a look, at all the good stuff, the benefits, the risks, all the strategies involved. So you could decide if it's something you want to explore further.
Yeah, exactly. So right off the bat, the first thing that kind of jumped out at me on this website was this idea. It said property development's like the lazy way to build equity. And they even say, meter fast.
Virtue.
So I don't know about you, but that sounds kind of too good to be true, right?
Yeah, I mean, lazy might be a bit of a strong word, but It's definitely not about, sitting back and doing nothing. It's more about working smarter, not harder.
Okay, so leveraging knowledge and systems.
Exactly. You're using, the right tools and strategies to build wealth, potentially a lot of it. And you don't necessarily have to follow that traditional grind.
So not like the typical, slowly paying off a mortgage over decades, that kind of thing.
Right. It's a different approach.
I mean, have you ever felt like that traditional path was just, I don't know, too slow or just too restrictive?
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
And this could be a way to kind of break free from that.
Like a shortcut.
Yeah. Think of it like with traditional investing, you're climbing a mountain, right? One step at a time. With development, you're trying to take a cable car to the top.
Oh, I like that.
Of course, there are risks, like the cable could snap, but the potential for a much quicker ascent is there.
Yeah, for sure. And this website definitely, it paints a pretty rosy picture, listing all these benefits, profit, free equity, being able to generate deposits for future investments, capital gains, higher rental yields. They even talk about tax advantages. And they have this whole growth chart that shows how development can skyrocket your portfolio compared to, just the slow and steady climb of traditional buy and hold.
Yeah, they're definitely selling the dream.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they do acknowledge that there's more to it than just, snapping your fingers.
Right. There's going to be some work involved.
Exactly. Those benefits are real. They are achievable.
Yeah.
But they don't just fall into your lap.
Yeah.
Success in property development really comes down to careful planning, flawless execution, and knowing how to navigate the risks.
So not for the faint of heart, then.
It's not a walk in the park, that's for sure.
All right, well, let's dig into some of those really enticing benefits that caught my eye. One that really stood out was acquiring property at cost. They had this example of a 4-townhouse development, and they were projecting a profit of $173,000 per unit. I mean, is that even realistic?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. You're buying all the ingredients to bake a cake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You spend, say, $50 on flour, sugar, eggs, all that good stuff. Then you bake the cake and you sell it for $200. That $150 difference, that's your profit, just like the developer's profit in this scenario.
Okay, so you're essentially creating value by transforming those raw materials into a finished product. That's worth a lot more.
Precise.
Interesting. Another benefit they talk about is the ability to really design properties that are, I guess, tailor-made for today's buyers. They were talking about incorporating things like computer rooms, gaming rooms, home offices, because people's lifestyles have changed, especially after the pandemic.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage over buying an existing property, where you're kind of stuck with whatever the previous owner decided. It's like being able to customize a car versus buying one off the lot.
Oh, I see, yeah.
You get to choose the features that are going to make most appealing to buyers.
So you're not just building a house, you're really understanding what do people want and creating a space that caters to that.
Exactly. And that can give you a real edge in the market.
Especially if you're building something that's in high demand.
Right, and in short supply.
Okay, so far so good. But I know there has to be a flip side to this coin, right? The website does say that property development isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They do list some potential downsides, things that could go wrong. So what are some of those risks we need to be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest and most common is budget overruns. Construction costs can be tricky, and unexpected issues can pop up, like weeds in a garden.
Oh, no.
And suddenly that rosy profit projection starts to wilt.
It's like planning a road trip, and you budget for gas, but then you forget about tolls, snacks, that souvenir you just had to buy at the gift shop.
Exactly. Things rarely go exactly according to plan in construction. And those unexpected costs can eat into your profits fast.
Yikes. Okay, what else? What else could go wrong?
Let's talk about contractors. Sometimes you might run into, let's just say, less than ideal builders.
Oh, no.
Maybe there are disagreements over work quality, unexpected delays, or even worse. These things can turn into costly legal battles.
Oh, wow.
And it can put a serious strain on your project and your sanity.
So choosing the right builder is crucial.
It's like picking a hiking buddy. You want someone reliable, experienced, and who shares your vision.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck on a mountain with the wrong person.
Exactly.
Another risk that kind of stands out to me is that buyers can't actually see or touch the property until it's built, right? It's like buying a car online. You can see the pictures, read the specs, but you don't know how it feels to drive until you're behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's a big leap of faith for buyers to commit to something based on blueprints and, fancy 3D renderings.
So how do developers overcome that? How do they convince people?
Well, that's where the magic of marketing comes in. And that's what we're going to be diving into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, stay tuned for part 2. We'll be back after a quick break.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about the risks of property development. And it got me thinking, how do you even know if an idea is worth pursuing in the first place? It's like staring at a blank canvas, Where do you begin?
That's where feasibility comes in. It's like doing your due diligence, your homework. Before you jump into the deep end, you wouldn't buy a car without taking it for a test drive, right?
Yeah, you want to make sure it runs smoothly.
Exactly. Feasibility is all about crunching the numbers, assessing the risks, before you invest your time, energy, and money.
This website, it mentions a smart feasibility calculator. Does that thing actually work?
It's a tool. Think of it like a GPS for your development journey. It can help you chart a course, but you still need to know how to read a map.
Right.
And make adjustments along the way.
So you can't just blindly plug in numbers and expect a perfect prediction. Exactly. It's a guide, not a guarantee.
Okay.
You still need to do your research.
The website, it actually walks through a specific example. It was a 4-townhouse development, and they break down all the costs, like buying the land, construction costs, consultant fees, permits, marketing, everything. They even included things like stamp duty and GST, which I never would have thought of.
Yeah, it's important to account for every single expense, leaving no stone unturned. That's the only way to get a truly accurate picture of your potential profit.
So they come up with a total project cost of like $2.2 million for those 4 townhouses. And then they estimate they could sell each townhouse for like $675,000. So that's what, $2.7 million total? So $500,000 in profit. I mean, are those numbers realistic?
They are. And remember, they're suggesting you could achieve this with a relatively small upfront investment. That's the power of leverage in development.
Leverage, okay.
You're using other people's money from banks or investors to amplify your returns.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility though, right?
It is. And the website really stresses that those are just hypothetical numbers.
Right.
Real-world projects always have unexpected twists and turns. It's like planning a hike, You can map out the trail,
Yeah.
but you might encounter detours, obstacles, or maybe even a breathtaking view you didn't expect.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so let's say you've done your feasibility study. You've got a project that looks good on paper. How do you actually get the money to make it happen?
Financing. That's the million-dollar question, literally.
The website talks about getting creative with financing, going beyond just a traditional bank loan. What are some of those alternative options?
Well, they talk about things like joint ventures, where you partner with someone who has the land or the construction expertise. It's like teaming up with a friend to go on an adventure.
Oh, okay.
You each bring different skills and resources to the table.
I like that analogy.
They also mention private investors, people who are looking for opportunities to grow their wealth outside of the stock market.
So it's kind of like crowdfunding. But instead of small donations from a bunch of people, you're getting larger investments from a few key partners.
You got it.
Okay.
The website really encourages developers to explore these different options, Find what works best for their situation.
All right, so you've got your financing in place, you're ready to start building, but the website also talks about design, which I found really interesting. It's not just about putting up 4 walls and a roof, is it?
Not at all. It's about creating spaces that people will love to live in. The website uses this phrase, designed to suit current market trends.
What are some of those trends? What are people looking for these days?
Well, they talk about things like home offices, recognizing that more and more people are working remotely.
Makes sense.
They also mention the importance of energy efficiency and sustainability.
Oh, right.
Buyers are more conscious of their environmental impact these days, and they're willing to pay a premium for homes that align with their values.
It's like the difference between, buying a gas-guzzling SUV versus a sleek electric car.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
People are making choices that reflect their lifestyle and their priorities.
So you've built these amazing townhouses, you've incorporated all the latest trends and features. How do you actually get people excited about buying them, especially if they're buying off plan, before they can even see the finished product?
That's where marketing comes in. And not just any marketing. The website really stresses the need for a truly compelling marketing campaign.
Like, what does that even look like?
Well, they talk about the power of visuals, professional photos, 3D renderings, things that give potential buyers a virtual tour.
Oh, okay.
They also mention creating a strong brand identity, telling a story that resonates with your target audience.
It's like creating a movie trailer for your development.
Exactly. You want to highlight the exciting features, build suspense, leave people wanting more.
That makes sense. It sounds like there's so much more to property development than meets the eye.
It's a complex process with a lot of moving parts. But the website argues that the potential rewards, they can be significant for those who are willing to put in the work and learn the ropes.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We've explored the importance of feasibility, looked at how to finance a project, and even delved into the world of design and marketing.
And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to be tackling that big question. Should you stick with traditional property investing or take the plunge into development?
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've journeyed through the ins and outs of property development, from crunching numbers to crafting that marketing magic. But now, the big question, should I even be doing this?
That's the crossroads every potential investor faces. Do you stick with that familiar path of traditional property investing? Or do you veer off onto the exciting but potentially bumpy road of development?
This website we're looking at, they call property development the Ferrari of all property investment strategies. So are we talking like the flashiest, fastest way to build wealth?
That's a bold statement. But is it the right ride for everyone?
Right.
That's what we're here to figure out.
So they break down these two approaches. They call them conventional versus contemporary. Okay, so the conventional route. It seems like that's what most people are familiar with.
It is. Think of it as buying a ready-made house. You put down a deposit, usually around 20%, get a mortgage for the rest. You're hoping the value of that house will go up over time. And in the meantime, you're collecting rent from tenants.
So it's a bit like planting a tree and waiting for it to grow.
Exactly. It's generally considered lower risk than development.
Okay.
You're not actively building anything, just riding the waves of the market. It requires less time, less specialized knowledge, maybe even less stress.
But this website's arguing that this slow and steady approach might not cut it in a market where prices are going up quickly.
Yeah, they're saying you might be leaving money on the table. If you're solely relying on organic growth,
Right.
If you're looking to build wealth faster, you need to be more proactive, more in control.
That's where the contemporary approach comes in.
Exactly. Property development. It's about building the house yourself, brick by brick. Rather than buying it pre-made, you're creating the value instead of waiting for it to appreciate.
And we've already talked about how that comes with more risk, but also potentially much bigger rewards.
Right. And one of the biggest advantages they highlight is capturing that developer's profit margin.
Okay, so you're buying the land and materials at wholesale prices.
Exactly. And then you're selling the finished product at retail.
That makes sense.
It's like buying clothes directly from the factory instead of paying a markup at a department store.
Oh, I see.
And they're not just talking about making a profit on one project.
Right.
It's about using that equity to fuel further investments.
So like a snowball effect.
Exactly. Their growth chart shows a much steeper trajectory for development compared to conventional investing.
So you're building a staircase to wealth, and with development, you're taking bigger steps.
That's the idea. And they even suggest that you might be able to hold on to some of those properties. creating a portfolio of income-generating assets that continues to grow.
That sounds incredible. But I keep coming back to the risks, you know? It seems like there's so much that could go wrong.
There is. And that's why the website really emphasizes education and planning.
Yeah.
They stress that it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right.
It's a business.
Yeah.
It requires careful consideration, due diligence, understanding the market.
It's like learning to surf. You wouldn't just paddle out into a massive wave without knowing how to handle your board.
Exactly. You need to learn the techniques, practice, build your confidence.
Okay.
And they also encourage seeking guidance from experienced developers, other professionals. It's like having a surf instructor there to guide you, help you avoid the wipeouts.
So it's not a solo sport.
Not at all.
You need a good team.
Absolutely.
So ultimately, the decision to dive into development or stick with conventional investing, it boils down to each individual person, right?
Right. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's about what aligns with your goals, your risk tolerance, your personal circumstances.
Some people are happy with that slow and steady approach. Others, they crave that excitement, that potential for faster growth.
It's like choosing between a relaxing stroll in the park and an adrenaline-pumping mountain climb.
Both valid choices, but very different experiences.
Exactly.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into property development. It's been quite a journey, exploring the potential, the pitfalls, the strategies, the challenges.
We've covered a lot of ground. Hopefully, we've given you the knowledge and insights you need to start making your own informed decisions.
Absolutely. If you could design your ideal investment property from scratch, what would it be? What features would it have? What would make it stand out from the crowd?
Let that question be the starting point of your exploration.
We encourage you to delve deeper into the source material we've been talking about. It's a treasure trove of information.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed the ride.
Until next time, happy investing. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about, those risks of property development. And got me thinking, how do you even know if an idea is worth pursuing? It's like, you're staring at this blank canvas. Where do you even begin?
Yeah, that's where the concept of feasibility comes in.
Yeah.
It's all about doing your due diligence, right? Your homework before you jump in. You wouldn't buy a car without taking it for a test drive.
Right, exactly.
You want to make sure it runs smoothly, that there's no hidden problems.
For sure.
So feasibility is all about crunching those numbers, assessing the risks before you invest your time, your energy, and your hard-earned money.
Okay, that makes sense. And this website, it mentions a smart feasibility calculator. Is that like a real thing? Does that actually work?
Think of it like a GPS for your development journey. It can definitely help you chart a course. But you still need to know how to read a map, right?
Right.
And make adjustments along the way.
So you can't just plug in some numbers and expect a perfect prediction.
Exactly. It's a guide, not a guarantee. You still need to do your research. Make sure the assumptions behind those numbers are solid.
They actually walk through the specific example on the website. It was a 4-townhouse development, and they break down all the costs, from buying the land to construction costs, consultant fees, permits, marketing, everything.
It's important to account for every single expense, leaving no stone unturned.
They even include things like stamp duty and GST, which honestly I never would have thought of.
Right, you got to capture everything
Yeah.
to get a truly accurate picture of your potential profit.
So in this example, they came up with a total project cost of $2.2 million for the 4 townhouses, and then they estimated they could sell each one for around $675,000, bringing in a total of $2.7 million.
So a pretty decent profit margin there.
$500,000. I mean, are those numbers even realistic?
They can be, yeah. And remember, they're suggesting you could achieve this with a relatively small upfront investment.
Okay.
That's the power of leverage. You're using other people's money, from banks or investors, to amplify your returns.
Wow. But it's a lot of responsibility, right?
It is, yeah. And the website really stresses that those are just hypothetical numbers.
Of course.
Real-world projects.
Yeah.
They're always going to be unexpected twists and turns.
Right.
It's like planning a hike,
Mhm.
You can map out the trail, but you might encounter detours, obstacles, maybe even a breathtaking view you didn't expect.
Okay, I like that analogy. So let's say you've done your feasibility study, you've got this project, looks promising on paper. How do you actually get the money to make it happen?
Financing. That's the million-dollar question, literally.
The website, it talks about getting creative with financing, like going beyond just a traditional bank loan. What are some of those alternative options?
Well, they talk about things like joint ventures,
Mm-hmm.
where you partner with someone who has the land or the construction expertise. It's like teaming up with a friend to go on an adventure.
Okay.
You each bring different skills and resources to the table.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They also mention private investors, people who are looking for opportunities to grow their wealth outside of the stock market.
So it's kind of like crowdfunding, but with bigger investments.
You got it.
Okay, so you've got your financing sorted. You're ready to start building. This website also talks about design, and I thought that was really interesting. It's not just about putting up 4 walls and a roof, right?
No, not at all. It's about creating spaces that people will actually want to live in. The website uses this phrase, designed to suit current market trends.
Oh, okay. So what are people looking for these days?
Well, they talk about things like home offices, recognizing that more and more people are working remotely now.
Yeah, for sure.
They also mentioned energy efficiency and sustainability.
Right. That's becoming more important.
Buyers are much more conscious of their environmental impact these days, and they're willing to pay a premium for homes that align with their values.
So you've built these amazing townhouses, incorporated all the latest trends and features. How do you actually get people excited about buying them, especially if they're buying, off plan, before they can even see the finished product?
That's where marketing comes in. And not just any marketing. The website really emphasizes the need for, a really compelling marketing campaign.
So how do you make your projects stand out from the crowd?
Well, they talk about high-quality visuals, professional photos, 3D renderings, that kind of thing. Give potential buyers a virtual tour of the property.
Okay.
They also mention building a strong brand identity, telling a story that resonates with your target audience.
So it's kind of like you're creating a movie trailer for your development.
Exactly. You want to highlight the exciting features, build suspense, leave people wanting more.
That makes sense. There's so much more to property development than meets the eye.
It's a complex process, yeah. Lots of moving parts. But the website argues that the potential rewards are there for those who are willing to put in the work and learn the ropes.
Well, we've covered a lot in this part of our deep dive. We've explored feasibility, financing, design, even marketing.
And the final part will be tackling that big question. Should you stick with traditional property investing or take the plunge into development?
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've really, we've gone through a lot, crunching numbers, marketing, and now the big question, should I even, do this?
That's the big decision point, right? Do you stick with what you know, that traditional property investing, or jump into, the excitement of development?
This website, they actually call property development the Ferrari of all property investment strategies. That's a big claim.
It is. But is it the right vehicle for everyone? That's what we need to figure out.
Right. So they've got these 2 approaches. They call them conventional and contemporary. All right. So conventional first. It seems like that's what, most people are familiar with.
Yeah. It's I guess you could say the tried and true method. Think of it like buying a ready-made house. You put down your deposit, get a mortgage, hoping the value goes up, and you're collecting rent in the meantime.
So kind of like a slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly. Generally considered lower risk, than development. You're not building anything, just kind of riding the market.
Makes sense.
Requires less time, less specialized knowledge, probably less stress too.
Less stress. Yeah, that's always good. But the website's saying that this approach, this slow and steady, might not be enough, especially with prices rising so quickly.
Right. They're saying you could be leaving money on the table if you're just relying on organic growth. You want to build wealth faster, you got to be more proactive.
Okay, so that's where the contemporary approach comes in.
Exactly. Property development. You're building the house yourself, brick by brick, rather than buying it pre-made. So you're creating the value instead of waiting for it to appreciate.
And that, of course, comes with more risk, but also potentially much bigger rewards.
Right. And one of the biggest advantages they point out is capturing that developer's profit margin.
So you're buying land and materials at a lower price.
Exactly. Wholesale prices and then selling at retail.
That makes sense. It's like buying clothes straight from the factory instead of paying a markup at a store.
Exactly. And it's not just about the profit from one project. It's about using that equity to fuel more investments, kind of a snowball effect.
Right, that snowball effect.
Their growth chart shows that, much steeper trajectory for development.
So you're like building that staircase to wealth, but with bigger steps.
Yeah, exactly. And they even suggest you could hold on to some of those properties.
Yeah. Creating
that portfolio of income-generating assets.
That sounds pretty amazing. But, all those risks, there's so much that could go wrong.
There is. That's why they really emphasize education and planning. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right.
It's a business.
Yeah.
Needs careful consideration, due diligence, and really understanding the market.
It's like learning to surf, right? You wouldn't just jump on a huge wave without knowing how to handle the board.
Exactly. Got to learn the techniques, practice, build your confidence. And they also suggest finding a mentor, an experienced developer, someone to guide you.
Yeah, like a surf instructor.
Exactly. Help you avoid the wipeouts.
So ultimately, that decision, development or traditional investing, it's a personal one.
It is no right or wrong answer. It's all about your goals, your risk tolerance, your circumstances.
Some people are perfectly happy with slow and steady. Others, they want that excitement, the potential for faster growth.
It's like choosing, a relaxing walk in the park versus that thrilling mountain climb.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into property development. It's been a really interesting journey.
We've covered a lot.
Explored the potential, the pitfalls, the strategies.
Hopefully, we've given you the information you need to start making your own informed decisions.
If you could design your ideal investment property, what would it be? What features would it have? What would make it stand out?
Let that be the starting point of your journey.
We encourage you to, dig deeper into that source material we've been discussing. Tons of great information in there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Until next time, happy investing.